Howdy, folks. Welcome to this week's Ag Report. So this week, I was going to share with you a little about my trip to Washington, D.C. Went to Washington, D.C. For a few days recently. And you may think, well, why is that important for an Ag Report? Why talk about Washington, D.C.? Well, I think it's important to, when you have the opportunity to visit with different folks, elected officials, congressmen and women, both sides of the aisle in DC. I think it's important to do that, especially in agriculture, because as y'all have heard before, there's about 1% of the population feeding 99%. Okay, so there's not that many folks in agriculture, and there are a couple of congressmen and women that have some agricultural interests, but by far, they really don't have a connection to agriculture. And so that's why it's important for those of us that are in agriculture, or we make our living from agriculture, to have conversations with them, to kind of, stay in touch with them. When we have an opportunity to visit with them, take that opportunity, just share with them what's going on at home. Basically, we were in DC, so I'm sharing with them, what's going on back in Texas with, different, with the weather, with how the crops are growing, that kind of stuff. It's also important because coming up in 2023, there will be a farm bill to be voted on. Farm bill is very important. Now, the majority of a farm bill goes into SNAP and food type services like that. Your SNAP, food allotments and all of that. A small portion of the farm bill actually are programs for agriculture. Okay, whether that be conservation programs or CRP programs. Even you may hear the word called safety net, which is a crop insurance kind of term. It means crop insurance. That's a part of the farm bill, so that if there are extreme droughts or floods, that kind of stuff that take crops out, it's a safety net for the producers. So, while we were there, we got the opportunity to speak with, I think it was maybe around 6 or 7 congressmen and women. We had some meetings with them in their offices. We kind of went around the Capitol there. We also had meetings with some of the undersecretaries at the USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture. We also had some meetings with some of the heads of the EPA in there. And those are important conversations, again, to have. The EPA, we have different products that we use to help the crop, save the crop sometimes if it gets infested with bugs and things like that. Those products come up for renewal. So it's good to have conversations with the EPA about those products, how we use them, how it's important that we keep those access to those products. And then, of course, the USDA. It's important to have a conversation with them, because when we mentioned that farm bill, that is the connection with the USDA. That is how it is implemented through our local FSA, Farm Service Agency. So that's the boots on the ground, you might say, and that's who we as producers day to day have contact with our local office. And so each county has an office. Most every one of them does, but that's how it kind of goes up the pipeline. So it's nice when you get the opportunity to go all the way to the top and to talk to the head administrator in Washington, D.C., and just kind of give them some food for thought of how things are working out in the country. So it's important if you ever get the opportunity, even if it's just locally, to visit with your congressmen and women at their office, or maybe they have a little event or something like that. Take that opportunity to swing by there and just introduce yourself. And, hopefully over time, you can build a relationship with those folks. We took John Paul and of course, Heather, went with me. And some of these elected officials we have met with a couple of times now. and it kind of builds a relationship. John Paul has some of them that they remember him and call him out by name, and they'll kind of go right up to him and have a conversation with him about that. And so that's kind of a cool thing to, as a parent, to experience. And we call it homeschool government class. What better government class can there be when you get to take your kids up to Washington, D.C., right up into the Capitol. We actually went into I believe it was the House Committee on Rules. I may be saying that improperly, but we got to go into that meeting room and have a meeting there with one of the congressmen. And so that was just, kind of cool. And hopefully that day, of government class for him will, kind of stick back in there. And maybe when he grows up, he can kind of look back on those things. And who knows, maybe when you see some news reports, it's always kind of cool to look in the background or see somebody that you spoke with on there. So anyways, I'd encourage you to do that. That's how come agriculture goes to DC every once in a while. It's an important relationship to cultivate. Y'all take care now.